Hi, I am Naida Abbas and welcome to the Warehouse 41 experience. Thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you keep yourself well and safe. Today I will be teaching jewelry making techniques. So let us begin. Alright, so today's session dedicated to the jewelry making wrapping technique and we're going to make a ring. So let us begin. You will need wire 0.8 millimeter diameter, about 30 centimeters long, and the bead, any bead can do, within 8 to 10 millimeters diameter. You can choose from nature like a coral or a moonstone, or it can be a Swarovski stone, Swarovski pearl, or just a crystal. That the choice is yours. You will need a set of pliers, flat nose plier, big nose or needle nose plier, round pliers, round nose plier, and cutters. You will need ruler, 30 centimeter ruler. You will also need a mandrel, the wooden mandrel, or something which is, if you don't have this particular tool, then it can be replaced with some kind of, say, whiteboard marker or something, whatever is that will be comfortable for you to wrap wire around. You might need a ring sizer, but again, if you don't have it, it's not a big deal. You can do your project without it. However, this will help, of course. And possibly you will need a caliper. Again, this caliper does not have to be, it's not necessarily, but if you have it, it's always better. Alright, so now step number one, what we need to do is that we need to cut the wire about 30 centimeters long. Better to make it a bit longer than running short, obviously. So what we need to do is this particular rule, 30 centimeters long. What I need to do is you have to just measure it, indicate 30 centimeters. At that point you don't need ruler anymore, and we need to cut the wire. To cut the wire you need to use cutters, and when you're placing the wire inside of the cutters you have to place it in the lower part, not completely, but let's say the second third, right? And when you're cutting the wire, you always have to point it down. That's a safe way to do that. Now, once you have a wire ready to go, pick one of your choice bead. I like this one. Make sure that your bead goes inside of the wire, because sometimes what happens is the bead has a very small hole inside, so that one will not work. And place it in the middle, more or less. Okay. After that, what we need to do is that we have to use the mandrel or something round to help you start it. And by pressing from both sides, first we need to find the middle, make sure that the ends are absolutely even on the same level. But as if it's a little bit off, that's okay, not a big deal, because again we're gonna have some extra, right? So once you done that, what we need to do, we need to observe it from the other side, like so, and very tight and neat. I'm going to pull it from both sides. The wire is thin enough. I'm using 0.8 millimeter diameter brass. Brass is also soft. And I'm going to come back on in the center, one end from the top and the other one from the bottom. So this way you're going to have yourself preparation for wrapping. But before we do that, we have to make sure that this is your size or close to your size or someone you're making for. Therefore, I'm going to use the ring sizer. I'm going to put it here, use the ring sizer, and check my size of the ring by measuring it. All right. Right, so you need to choose a little bit loose, because as you will be wrapping your wire around the shank of the ring, your size, it will shrink slightly. So we have to take this into consideration. What I'm going to do is I'm going to insert into the mandrel, like so, and make a mark with graphite pencil, which you can easily erase later on, because you will not need it. And you have your salvo mark right here. From that point, what we need to do is that I'm going to wear it back, place it in the area slightly lower, because as you will be wrapping, it will shrink in the size, just slightly. So again, I'm doing this, like so. Observe it. Make sure it's all tight on the back and even. And from this point, what we need to do is start to clockwise wrap your bead around with the wire. Few times till you will have the ends about 3 centimeters long from each side, because this 3 centimeters we need for the unwrapping inside of the shank on both sides. So this is what's going to happen. At this point, we need to take flat pliers and very gently pick the end of the wire on one side, like so. Turn around and do the same thing with the other end. First, you can use your fingers, the wire is soft, and then pull it with big nose pliers. Now, before finishing the wrapping on each side, we have to make sure that the beginning of wrapping is very tight in this particular area. For that reason, I'm going to go inside with flat pliers and squeeze it before I will complete the wrapping. Otherwise, you're risking that your wrapping is going to be loose, and that is not a good idea. Same thing I'm going to do on the other end. Squeeze it first, and then I can complete wrapping up. And you can do that 2 to 3 times. You don't need to do it too many, because then it might become messy. Every time you complete the one wrap, you squeeze with the pliers to secure that this area is all tight and sturdy. Same thing I'm doing on the other. Now, this is what you're gonna have. You will have extra wire, which you can cut if you want to, or you can create some kind of creative decorative spiral and some elements. But before we do that, we have to make sure that here these 2 wires are tight and they are laying together very nicely. For that, I'm going to go back to mandrel and then just using my hands, pushing it so that the whole ring is becoming nice and round. I can also help with the pliers, but just be gentle, because what can happen is if you are playing too much with your flat pliers, they don't have any coating, and therefore they can create some kind of scratches. That's something we don't want to happen. So once you made sure it's all nice, as you can see, we can then complete this area. I would suggest to cut. You can measure about 2 centimeters long. You will not need more than that. So I measure here 2 centimeters and then cutting it. Again, please make sure that you're pointing the table so that it doesn't jump up into somebody's eyes or your own eye. That's not gonna be nice. So this is leftovers, you don't need them anymore. At this point, what you can do is you can use round pliers. So I'm going to catch the very tip of the wire. Important why? Because if you place your round pliers not in the very, very end of it, then the nice round spiral will not happen. So what I'm doing here, I'm gently rotating it by steps, not at once, but little by little. And the same thing I'm going to do on the other side, catching the very tip of it, and make sure that you're going step by step, like so. At this point, I'm going to switch to the flat pliers, this one. Squeeze it, which will also give this end slight rigidity, and continue rolling like so, which will give you nice decoration kind of element on the side of the bead where the hole is. Same thing I'm going to do on the other end, step by step, and this way we have this little decoration. At the moment it's sticking out like this, right? So what do we do then? I'm going to take needle nose pliers and cover it, so pushing it towards the bead, like so. So that first of all it's covering the hole, and it also looks all this nice and organized and not going to bother you when you will be wearing it, like so. Also what you can do is, for example, here you have this lines here, right? All these wires. Instead of keeping them in the way they are right now, what you can do is that using needle pliers you can actually start to give this nice wave, so that your design becoming more creative rather than just being wrapping. You actually adding some nice elements, some dynamic to enjoy looking at it. This takes a little bit of time and practice, so if it did not happen in the very beginning, don't get discouraged. You just need to do it a couple of more times before you come up with your own ideas and your own style. And every time you're doing it will be different. Every time your wrapping technique ring is going to be one of a kind. And there we have it. So now let us test it. I'm going to wear it. And there I have it. And that would be it.